firstly, you must still have so much positivity and good feeling after a brilliant result and performance in the Champions League the other night.
Yeah, it was a welcome performance and result, as you say. I think it was really important for us. Puts us in a good position in the Champions League, and gives us a good feeling going into Saturday.
Has everybody come through the match okay? No new injury issues?
Yeah, everybody has come through okay. Obviously after a game you've got a couple of sore bodies to look at, but nothing serious. Sandro's still the player we're monitoring. He did train on Wednesday but didn't feel 100%, so he's the one that's probably touch and go for the game.
Staying with Sandro Tonali, could you talk to us about his contractual status, please? Because it emerged this week that he's actually tied to the club for a little bit longer than I think we initially realised.
Yes, that's correct. I think a lot happened around, obviously, the time when he was banned. So a lot of discussions between Sandro's representatives and the football club at the time. Obviously there was the contract situation involving him, and then delaying of payments, sacrificial wages that Sandro volunteered, which I thought spoke volumes really for his mentality and how he conducted himself in that period, and the club came to an agreement. So yeah, an extension of his contract, which is a great thing, but I think most importantly it was how he conducted himself in that ban, and I thought he was brilliant, and that's of course led to his brilliant performances since he's come back, so congratulations to him.
And how much is extending his contract a demonstration from him of his commitment to you and to Newcastle United, particularly after that support you gave him during his time away from playing?
Yeah, I think it's a two-way thing, and I think Sandro's felt the love from everyone connected with the club. The supporters have been absolutely incredible with him during the ban, for one, but that support during the ban I think then followed through to helping Sandro return to football, helping him obviously with his issues that he had off the pitch, and I think he felt that love and support, and he needed it at that time. Now we're seeing the benefits. It's easy to forget sort of the difficulties he was going through in that period, but I think that teamwork and that support, now we're seeing the benefit, and he's been brilliant since returning to football.
Another midfielder, Jacob Ramsey, came in and started the other night and made an appearance as a substitute at Brighton. How important is it that he gets some minutes, and also how impressed have you been in those 2 games that he's played since that injury layoff?
Yeah, really pleased for JJ, because coming to a new club, the last thing you want to do is pick up an injury early on. You want to show your qualities and what you can bring to the team. So he had a period away, worked hard, come back now to full fitness. I've been impressed. I still feel there's so much more to come, both physically and technically, because I think he's got outstanding technical qualities. Very intelligent player. So I think the best is yet to come, but certainly a positive impression.
And on Fulham, what sort of level of performance do you need to deliver this weekend to get another big result at St James's Park?
Well, I think the very best performance, I think you go back to last year, 2 disappointing results against Fulham. So I think we know the qualities of their team, and Marco's done a brilliant job there. So I think these are difficult games for us, and we felt that returning from the Champions League, always the high emotion of the Champions League games, the energy that those games bring you, they're night games, it's a totally different feel back to the afternoon kickoff in the Premier League. Big mental challenge for us, and we have to rise to that and grow from the experiences that we've had previously. This will be a tough game.
Thank you. Keith?
Eddie, I know it's not new news to you, the Sandro Tonali situation, but I think just the feeling from the supporters is almost like they're quite relieved, because it feels like there's a bit of security there regarding him. Do you feel that as well? I guess the last thing you want to do is a situation that we saw with Alexander Isak last summer.
Yeah, I mean, every situation's different. I think Sandro's happy. I think he's enjoying his football. I think he feels integral to the squad. I think he feels the love of the players and the supporters. You can never foresee what the future holds. I think I've learnt that now. But we're just enjoying his qualities and how he's playing and expressing himself in the team, and long may that continue.
Do you think you've got, whether now or in the future, one of the best midfielders in the world in your hands?
Potentially. Very difficult to label players. I don't tend to like doing that. I think it's a dangerous thing to do. I always think the players have to prove that consistently. I don't think it helps me to do that, but I think the attributes are there in his game to be that. I think the attitude is there, fundamentally so important, that the consistency and the daily habits that a player has, then you see come out on the pitch. Sandro has all those qualities. Yeah, he has the technical delivery, the athleticism. So yeah, I think he has a bit of everything. But he's of course, the challenge is to improve. The challenge is to consistently show you're that, and I'd back him to do it.
How pleasing was it the other night that obviously Sandro was unwell and was unable to play, but as you touched on there, you could bring in the likes of Miley and Ramsey, and they did so well. I suppose that's the perfect situation for you as a manager, and it gives you decisions moving forward. And it feels like the two of them, I know Ramsey's been injured, but it feels like the two of them have reacted well to maybe being out of the side, whether it is through injury or through your choice.
Oh, Louis and JJ.
Yeah.
I think it's massive for us that you have players that can come in and, I would say, make the team play better, but bring their own qualities to the team, and in some senses, in some ways, that might make your team play better. I think that's crucial for us. We need the depth. We arguably didn't have that 2 years ago, and we paid the price for that. So I thought it was a great sign for the squad. Two players came in and performed as they did. It also speaks volumes to their professionalism and how ready they are. So it was a big moment for them both and for the team. So very pleased, and of course that adds a different dynamic then when you come back to selecting a new team. It gives me a lot to think about.
That's 8 weeks now that Nick Voltemad's been in here. He's obviously made some impression with his tricks and his flicks and his goals and his all-round personality, it certainly seems. How pleased are you with the way he's come on, given that in that first game against Wolves, I think he was saying he was cramping up at half time, but how is he physically, and is he more robust to go through these next few weeks, being the sort of main out-and-out striker that you have?
Physically, a vast improvement. I think, that first game against Wolves, I think that you have to understand the first game, there's a lot of emotions in there as well. But I think that was his best physical performance against Benfica. I thought his pressing from the front, his attitude to press, his durability, his robustness, excellent. The challenge for him in this moment is he's got to do that every 3-4 days, and that's not easy, physically and mentally. So a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, but he's carrying that really well. I see a player and a person coming into the training ground who feels more at home in his environment now. I think a lot more relaxed. You're seeing his natural personality come out, and it's all positive. So very pleased with him.
And is he okay to go again tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll see today. We've got a full training day today, so we'll see a lot of the players that haven't trained since the game.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. Andy?
Well, Neddy, how much has the Nick Pope assist been talked about over the last few days?
Maybe in Nick's house, yeah. I'm sure he's had the video out a few times. For us, look, it was a great moment. It was a great moment for Nick, and I think it was a great moment for Harvey. And of course a big moment for the team because we needed that second goal. But I think you sort of quickly move on when you're in preparing the next game. The next game comes whizzing round and you can't look back too much. So, but it's one that we'll look back, I'm sure, fondly through time, because it's not often you see a goalkeeper throw the ball like that.
We talk about Bruno's quality on the pitch a lot, but I heard a stat the other day, 124 games out of the last 127 that he started. We talk about his ability. What about his durability to keep going? Because it's not just Newcastle, it's obviously the travel internationally as well. Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest strengths that Bruno brings is his consistency of his body, his attitude. He's a very positive person. I think that positivity that he brings carries through in all aspects of his life. That reliability, when you're calling on someone consistently and going, can you perform again? Very, very rarely does he let us down. He's always there. And I think that's the attribute of a top player, the consistency, as I mentioned earlier, to deliver not just week on week, but month on month and then season after season. So full compliments to him. And now I don't really like to hear those stats because you just want Bruno to carry on and not think too much, because it's certainly worked for him.
Just on Sandro, how much he's been obviously through so much. There's so much happened to him since his move to Newcastle United. How much have you seen him change and develop as a person, would you say, in that time?
Yeah, I think you see players change a lot because they come to you in their early 20s, and then obviously they develop, depends how long they stay with you, but they're developing through the really important years of their life. And I think we've seen Sandro come in with very limited grasp of English to now being able to communicate freely with everybody, which is such an important thing. He's obviously had a very difficult early start here, and he was able to handle that in a really responsible, dignified way. And he still have those challenges in his life for sure, and he's navigated them brilliantly. And then sort of on and off the pitch, he's due to become a dad, so big changes in his life. But we've seen him grow and develop and be very popular amongst his teammates. That's always a sign for me of your character. So yeah, very pleased with him.
Just finally, you alluded to this the other night, the difference in form between the Champions League at the moment and the Premier League. So I guess the big question is, how do you bring that form from the Champions League into obviously an entirely different competition in the Premier League? Yeah,
it's all down to mentality for me. It's down to our attitude. There's no difference for me between a pre-season game and a Premier League game. Whatever competition, our attitude for the games has to be the same. I thought our attitude against Benfica was very, very good. But now we need to back that up with a consistent performance and the will to win. The will to win has to be there in every game, and we'll certainly be looking for that tomorrow.
Mark, welcome back.
Thank you. Morning, Eddie.
Nice to see you.
You've touched on it already, strength in depth, and how much do you think it's improved since the last Champions League campaign?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because the last Champions League campaign, if you'd asked me at the start of the season, I said we had an outstanding squad with real depth. But we lost players continually in that early stage of the season, so we lost the strength. We still, looking back at that season, performed very well, I have to say, despite the challenges we faced. Slightly new position for us this year. We have the depth, and then it's using the depth correctly at the right time without losing the balance in the team and the cohesion that you need to get regular results. So that's a puzzle that we're trying to work through.
Anthony Gordon's talked about how he loves playing with Nick Voltemade. How impressed have you been with the way Nick has settled in? And of all the summer signings across the Premier League, he seems to be one of those that sort of hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Ant likes playing with him because I think they've got very good technical qualities, and I think good technical players like playing with each other. I think Nick's settled in well in that respect, especially because the lads trust him with the ball. They want to give him the ball in every moment. I think it's testament to Nick's attitude and bravery that he's come to a new league, and he's expressing himself in his way straight away, and long may that continue.
And finally for me, we've talked a lot about Sandro Tonali. Does the backing the club gave him during the ban and the sort of pledging his loyalty to you, I mean, is loyalty now perhaps still alive in the Premier League?
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I believe in human beings, and I believe there is loyalty. Every situation's so unique and different. I don't think you can draw parallels to any two situations. Hopefully we gave Sandro the support he needed, firstly in that moment, forgetting the footballer, and I said this at the time, for the person and for his long-term health and for his life. Football then takes a back seat, but hopefully his football's benefited from that viewpoint.
Thank you, Mark. Damien Donnelly.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi.
Just on Sandro again, the fact that you were able to bring a player of his quality here, keep him happy, give him a chance to fulfil his ambitions, will that help you when you go into the transfer market and look at other similar marquee signings?
Yeah, I hope so. I think there's always players that are very intelligent these days. The representatives of players do a lot of research and in-depth analysis about potential next clubs for their clients. So I'm sure they'll look at case studies and similar examples and draw parallels to them. So I think if we can have as many successful transfers as possible, I'm sure that will help us for future transfers, yeah.
And just, I don't know whether you'd seen, but Arne Slot the other night seemed to suggest that Newcastle were to blame for Alexander Isak's current situation. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I don't think that's wise for me to get involved in those discussions. I think Alex is no longer at this football club, so I won't comment on it.
Thank you. Lee Ryder?
Yeah, I mean, just following up on that, can you give us some insight into the professional background that we've got here? Because it's quite audacious for someone to even suggest that he didn't get treated properly when he was here.
Go on, Lee. What's your question?
You've obviously changed the training ground. You've got top-level staff here. It's quite audacious that someone could actually say that in public about the setup here.
Yeah, I think the setup here is... If the question is what do I think of the setup, yeah, I think the setup here is very good. It's not perfect, we've got things to improve and to grow, but the club the owners here have developed the facilities since I've been here very, very well, and I know there's you can see there's building work going on currently to hopefully help us deliver even better in the future, but I've got no complaints. We've got elite athletes here, many of them, and touch wood, we're managing them pretty well at the moment.
And just going on to the game, you want to be higher up the league, obviously, but Fulham, it's a game what you can't underestimate. I mean, they came here and won the game last season, so it's one you can't underestimate, basically. Yeah,
I think that's key for us. I think if we do, that's where we'll run into trouble. As I say, the Champions League is an amazing competition, and we love being in it. If there is a pitfall around it, it's then how do you return to the Premier League with the sole focus of winning the next game and lose the baggage of that very, very quickly. That's the challenge that we face. I think we've done it okay so far, but I think we can improve it and do it better. But it's the focus then, the laser focus we need on the next Premier League game or whichever competition we're in. That's where I think top teams are defined, because the performance should be unaffected by what competition we're in. And as you said, Fulham beat us here last year, and probably deservedly so. So we need to use those games as learning experiences to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Thank you. We've got a Chris, Dominic and Craig, please. Chris.
Morning, Eddie. Obviously, Nick Pope's assist the other night got sort of the attention, but he makes 2 big saves in the first half. He's made some really big saves so far this season and through his Newcastle career so far. Do you think that it's almost underestimated how important a player he is and what he brings to the side? Because people talk about the fact that he's not as comfortable with his feet, but actually as a goalkeeper and what he brings, how important is he for your side?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because it can be taken for granted. The 2 saves he made the other night, I thought both were outstanding saves in big moments, 0-0 in the game. And, if you go a goal behind, it doesn't mean you can't win, but it makes it so much harder. So I thought the first one in particular, which was slightly unorthodox because it's sort of gone under his arm, but he's found a way to keep it out. And I think that's always been Nick's biggest strength. He finds a way, most of the time, percentage-wise, to keep the ball out the net. And he's got that unique gift. He's obviously got long limbs and a big frame, but he uses it to the best of his ability and the best of his advantage to make big saves. I'll go back to the cup final. The save he made, we were 2-0 up, and there was still a big chunk of the game left. He sticks out a big hand, and it was a massive save for us. And yes, goals always get the full coverage, and I understand that, and rightly so. Goalkeepers really only come to light if they make an absolute worldie save or they make a mistake. But Nick's had a habit of continually making very, very good saves, and he's very valuable to us.
And you see how valuable he is to you. Obviously, the way that the players celebrated with him, that was partly to do with that goal, but he's also been voted into the leadership group. How valued by his teammates is he?
Yeah, I think that's a very good sign for him. I think he's got the full respect of the dressing room. He's consistent. He's a consistent person. He's the same every day. Very positive. But he's got this desire to learn still. He trains really, really well. He's got a good relationship with the goalkeepers around him and his coaches. And I think he's very vocal. You go, but if you were to walk into our change room before a game, he'll be one that will be leading the encouragement of the outfield players. So those things are really valuable to us.
Thanks, Chris. Dominic?
Morning, Eddie. We've seen Liverpool and Alexander Isak almost paying the price for a player who didn't have a proper pre-season, play any games. Just linking it back to yourselves and Johan Wissa, is a similar level of patience going to be required with him once he returns to full fitness?
Yes, I believe so. I think if you look at Johan's situation, he will need almost a pre-season, and pre-season's schedules that we give to players will be 6 weeks, and we'll do that for a reason, so we can build them up and they can play in various games and then they're ready to perform. So I'm not saying he won't play for 6 weeks, but I think to get to his very best level, it will probably take that time. But firstly, before we get to that stage, we need to get him fully 100% fit, and then we can really push him. So he's on that road. He's been to see a specialist yesterday. That was a routine appointment. He's on track. He's doing well. So now I think we can push him a little bit harder.
And what sort of time frame we're looking at? Is it still what we're...
Still the same. I'm losing track of weeks, but it's not changed.
Still the right side of the international break, the November.
Yeah, whatever I said a while ago.
Go to Craig and then to Charlie, please.
Morning, Eddie. Obviously, the comment this week about Newcastle being a smaller club has irritated supporters. Would you go into bat on their behalf to defend the size of Newcastle United? Sold out every week, 8th in the Champions League at the moment, Carabao Cup holders, everything else.
I like the way you've worded that. Encouraged me to go into bat, to push me up. I don't have to do that. I don't feel. You've done it for me with reeling off all those things.
You just repeat everything I've said.
I'm not going to do that, but you obviously know what my answer would be.
Yeah. On fitness, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, where are those guys at?
Doing well. I think Tino's on the grass for the first time today, and he's making really good progress, so very happy with him. Lewis is the same. Lewis is doing really well. He's been on the grass for a while. He's been pushing himself. He's done back-to-back sessions. Yeah, he'll be hopefully not too far away now.
Okay, Charlie, then Kieran, please.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You were known at Bournemouth for playing a variant of a 4-4-2 formation. Is that something you could do here at Newcastle once you almost have returns to fitness?
I wondered what you were going to say then. Yeah, I never rule anything out. Obviously, we've played a certain formation for a while now, but there's so many, so much flexibility within that system. We end up in all sorts of shapes. Everyone gets fixated with the start point of the system, but the end point of the system is probably 7 or 8 systems in itself. So 4-4-2 as a start point, yeah, I'd say we have done it. Do I see us doing it consistently? Maybe not, but who knows?
And just sticking with the forward players, he perhaps might not want to hear this, but is Harvey Barnes, with his outward which he brings and the way the game is now with all the substitutes, is he better as an impact player off the bench, do you think?
I think he's done well in that respect, but I don't think that's his best position. No, he's done well in every moment, whether that's coming on, starting the games. I just think he's a very, very good player. And the most important aspect, I think, from Harvey's, or attribute from Harvey's game, is that he does score goals. If you look back through his record, he's very strong in that area. And I know it sounds obvious, but you need as many goals as you can. And Harvey brings shots, goals, assists. He's a very, very good player. And as I said after the game the other day, it was great to see him score off the right-hand side because he'd played very well there for us for a while. But yeah, I don't think it actually necessarily scored, but that would do his confidence from that side of the pitch the world of good.
Thank you. We've got to Kieran, Gary and Martin, please. Kieran?
Morning. When you see the way Anthony played the other night, I mean, do you see more to come from him? Maybe we haven't seen the numbers in the Premier League in the same way.
Yeah, I think there's more to come from him. I think he looked in a really good place on Tuesday. He was direct. He was full of running. And he going back to the Harvey point, he produced an assist, a goal. Yeah, really pleased with his performance. And the challenge is for Harvey and for all the players is to produce that on a consistent basis. Because if he can, there's very few that can do what he can do.
And more generally, what have you kind of made of how the players have adapted since losing such a key player last summer? Obviously, it probably took a bit of time, as you touched on earlier in the week. What have you made kind of the partnerships that are building since then?
Positive signs, but I still feel we've got a lot to do. A lot to do in all areas of the team. Those relationships and those partnerships, for me, your job is to try and bring the best out of the player around you, make the player around you better. That's how I believe the team should be, and I think we're on our way to doing that. But I think there's a lot more to come, and I think that just comes from understanding of where certain players want the ball. And yeah, we're, as I said a few weeks ago, for me, we're a new team that's growing and developing, and hopefully on the right track to get better every week.
Gary?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just on a personal level, how does it make you feel to hear someone call Newcastle a smaller club?
Let's go back to Craig's question. I can't answer that, and I don't think that was directly what was said, but it's best I stay away from it.
Okay, and on a lighter note, a couple of weeks ago, I brought Nick's comments to you where he'd mentioned he was looking for a girlfriend. You said you knew a few people who could help him out.
Did I?
How's that going? Has he found love yet?
I don't think I've started any work on that. Lee might know better than me, but no, I think Nick's at the moment. Look, I don't want to kill him, but I think he's concentrating on his football, and hopefully that will stay that way. But as time goes on, I'm sure I meet lots of new people here.
Thank you, Martin.
Morning, Eddie. I'll not mention the manager of Liverpool. There's been a lot about Sandro signing an extension during the ban, but are you keen for him to sign a new deal?
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, there's been a lot about Sandro signing the extension during his ban, but but there's also been talks about a new deal. Are you keen for him to sign a new deal?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be one for Ross Wilson, the new sporting director. All new contracts, players' contract length will be looked at by him, and obviously I'll have a discussion with him on all of those things, but we haven't talked at length about that.
And there was a big outlay in the summer on players, but obviously finance came back into the club. Is the club in a position now where it can invest again in January, and is that something you would like to do?
I think every transfer window for me is an opportunity to invest, and we will look at it and try and make the best decisions for the future of the club, knowing what we have available in that window and then the following windows, and try and make the best decision. I would love to get to a situation where we can invest in every window, not necessarily big outlays, sometimes small outlays, but to keep the fluidity in the squad and to keep building forwards. But we haven't had those discussions yet.
Thank you. Sean?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You mentioned it before about how well Jacob Ramsey did come into the team. You've said in the past that Joelinton's got quite a unique profile in terms of the qualities he can bring to the midfield and other midfielders don't necessarily have, but it seemed pretty seamless, the transition that Jacob coming to the team the other night and performed really well. Do you think you found a genuine alternative for Joelinton in there?
I don't think you can underestimate the strength of the midfield players we have. I mean, we forget Joe Willock's qualities, who's been an outstanding player for us historically. We're just trying to get Joe back to his very, very best form. So I think we have, and all those players, will bring their own unique qualities in that position. So Jacob brought his qualities to that position the other day. He's very technical, as I say. He's very intelligent. But Joelinton's qualities are rare and ones that we really cherish. So whether Joe plays in any of those positions, I mean, he's very flexible, which is a great strength of his. But it's those competition for places is what we need, and that's great to see that position hotting up.
And just touching on competition for places, you obviously played with Jacob Murphy the other night on the right wing and Anthony Gordon on the left, and Harvey Barnes come on and scored 2 goals. All 3 of those players made a real impact, and obviously Anthony Elanga came on towards the end of the game. But what do you think Anthony Elanga needs to do that perhaps the other 3 showed the other night?
With Anthony, we're working hard with him actually in training and trying to give him the training time that he hasn't had, and no player's had during this season is going to be such a unique one. Even Nick, I mean, you look at Nick and we've done everything we can with him in between games, but it's very limited as to what we can do with him because the time and the physical output doesn't allow us to do it because there's another game around the corner. But if Anthony isn't starting the game, then we can certainly continue the work that we started with him during pre-season to get him to fully understand and implement and embed him into the team framework. So I'm really, really excited about Anthony's future. I think he's got all the qualities we need. Just maybe needs a little bit more time to understand what we do. But that's, for those of you that have been here any length of time, that's not unique for us. There's some players that have had to work for a long time to fully get the Newcastle way. but sometimes it's really worth the wait, and I think that'll be the case with that.